Will hypnotherapy work for me? That's a question I hear a lot. I get asked for my opinion on that quite a lot. So I wanted to share that with as many people as I can, because hypnotherapy is an incredible therapy that can get many people really quick, safe results and really make a big difference. Often people who've been in years of therapy find hypnotherapy changes things for them in weeks, months, but often in weeks. So let me try and answer the question, will hypnotherapy work for me? And there are really, I think, 6 things that I look for in people. So when somebody comes to me, I always have a call beforehand. I don't go straight into a session with somebody because I want to have a high degree of confidence that I can help that person. It's good for them, it's good for me, it's good for my reputation. So here are the key things that I look for. So the first thing is are you ready? And what I mean by that is, are you ready to change? And for some people, they've got issues, things are going on, but they're not actually ready to change. Maybe the time isn't right. Maybe they're not yet ready to deal with it. But if you really feel you're at a point in time where whatever it is that's going on for you, you are ready to put that behind you. You're ready to make that change. You're ready to make that step. That's really, really important for people in all sorts of things. And kind of allied to that as well as are you ready is, do you really want the change? So sounds like a strange question, but I have people come to me who say they want to stop smoking or they want to stop drinking. And I say, on a scale of 1 to 10, how committed are you to doing that? How much do you really want to do that? And really, if somebody says to me it's less than 7, it's really not enough. You have to want to make the change. If somebody comes to me and says, can you help me stop smoking? And I probe them about it, and they say, well, I don't really want to, but my wife wants me to, my husband wants me to, etc. They're not really committed. You have to want to make the change, and the time for the change has to be right. So that's really, really important. So consider that. The second thing is that, are you reasonably open-minded? You don't need to be like hey, I believe in all sorts of things. You need to be reasonably open-minded that something that is slightly different to what you traditionally go to the doctor and get given. You know, if you're one of those people who believes that the answer to everything is taking a pill, you only believe what a doctor tells you, you won't believe anybody who's even slightly alternative will tell you, then it probably won't work for you, because you're not going to believe it will work and you'll resist it and it won't work for you. So you need to be reasonably open-minded. You don't need to be an out there woo-woo kind of person, but you need to believe basically that how we think can change and how we think influences what goes on in our lives. You really need to believe that there is like a strong connection between our mind and our body. And this is something that could potentially help you. So you need to be at least in a place where you're open to the idea, yeah, this could help me. So in my own experience, before I was a hypnotherapist, before I made that big life change, that big career change, I'd done all the traditional things. I was one of those people who would only go to a doctor. I wouldn't listen to what anybody else said. And trying to deal with some of the challenges that I had in my life, I went to see counsellors, talking therapies. And for me, it didn't do anything for me. And I got to the point where I became open-minded to try hypnotherapy. Somebody suggested it to me, and I was like, okay, I'll give that a go. I went along going, not sure about this, but I'll give it a try. I can understand how it could work for me, and it changed my life. So you need to be thinking, okay, this could work for me, reasonably open-minded. The third thing that's really, really important for you, if you want hypnotherapy to work for you, is about the person you'll be working with, about the therapist you'll be working with. You need to feel comfortable with them. You need to feel that they understand you. You need to feel comfortable that you can relax with them, that you can be very open with them, because it's a very personal, very intimate experience of working with a hypnotherapist. You know, it's a high level of trust that you need to quickly develop with that person. So if the person doesn't feel right when you speak to them, when you meet them, then it probably isn't the right person for you. So that's not about the therapy, maybe just about the person. Okay. So being comfortable with the therapist is really, really important, because if you're not, you won't relax, you won't open up, and they won't be able to do their best work for you. The fourth thing is, what is the issue? Because there are many things that hypnotherapy can treat, many, many things. But some things are easier than others. So for me, I find working with confidence, anxiety, phobias, things like that, really quite straightforward. For me, that's quite a straightforward thing, and I can get results for people most of the time, get significant change for them in like one session with me. There are other things that are more complicated. Physical issues can be quite complicated. Depression can be more complicated. Hypnotherapy can help with all of these things, but for those complicated kind of things, it will likely take longer. Okay, so it's probably not a 1 session or a 2 session 2-session process to get you where you want to get to go. So the issue is really, really important. And I do talk about quite a lot in some of my other material about what sort of things you can treat in 1 session, 2 sessions, or 3 sessions. And of course, it also depends upon the type of hypnotherapy that you're using, because there are different types of hypnotherapy. I practice something called RTT, Rapid Transformational Therapy, that was developed by Marissa Peer, and it's a kind of a more comprehensive approach to hypnotherapy, where we deal with the root cause and where we do a lot of reinforcement in addition to that traditional kind of hour in the seat with a hypnotherapist. So we're really working on understanding what is the issue and making sure we reinforce it. It's not just come in the room, do our thing, get on with it. So there are different types of hypnotherapy as well. The fifth thing is the kind of person that you are. And I mentioned before about being open-minded. So I typically find that people who are creative, people who are visual, people who are logical, generally do really, really well with hypnotherapy. They do really, really well. They really, really relate to it incredibly well. People who are visual find it, find it really, really powerful. People who are aural, who are good with words. So I find creative people, as I say. I also find people who are religious, people who have faith, tend to do pretty well as well, because they understand very much the concept of faith and the importance of belief in the process of making changes and getting better. So anybody can be hypnotized. Anybody can get good results from hypnotherapy. For some people, it comes easier. So the final thing that you need to do, and that is going to determine will hypnotherapy work for you, is about, will you do the work that you're asked to do? And it's not a huge amount of work. So for me as an RTT therapist, I ask you to come to me for a 2-hour appointment. I have a call with you before that. We have a 2-hour appointment. Then I give you a recording, a 15 to 20-minute recording, an audio recording to listen to reinforce the work that we've done. I also have some check-ins, some catch-ups, so you're supported on that whole process, that whole journey from where you are to where you want to get to. But you do need to do that work. You need to think about what it is you want to get fixed. You need to want to be there. You need to come to that session open-minded, feel comfortable with me, and you need to listen to the recording I give you. And if you do that, you've got a very high probability of getting results. So you need to do the work. So in my experience, the people who hypnotherapy doesn't work for, it's a pretty small number of people who it can't work for. And quite often it's situational more than anything else. So people who are in such a high state of anxiety or hypertension, it's really hard to work with them, to get them relaxed enough to be hypnotized. That doesn't happen very often, but during COVID, I had a few people who were so tense, so anxious, they simply could not relax enough to become hypnotized. Most people, well, pretty much anybody can be hypnotized, and those people could be hypnotized, but in that particular environment, when they were so stressed, so hypervigilant, they really couldn't get to the point where they could relax enough to just kind of go with the flow of the process. If you're a really closed-minded person, like I said before, if you're the person who goes, if it's not from a doctor, all those kind of things, it's really not going to work. It does really work for rational, logical people, because while there's a big emphasis on belief is important. If you don't believe it's not going to work, of course it won't work for you, because you won't let it, you'll resist it. But hypnotherapy is based on a lot of science. It's a process, and it is a process of understanding why you think the way you do that's causing the issue that you have. You know, where, for example, where does your anxiety come from? When we understand where your anxiety comes from, we can help you let go of it, help your mind and your body understand that actually everything's okay. You can move on from it and you can let go. And then it's about taking on board those new beliefs that you want to have. So most people who come to me, very, very common that most of the issues they have, no matter what it is, if it's a fear of flying, it's a phobia, it's a problem with drink, most of the time it will come from some childhood issues. It's not necessarily a big issue, it's some childhood beliefs they've taken on board, which have carried through with them to adulthood. And unless something major traumatic has happened in later years, it's usually always something earlier in life. Thoughts, beliefs about yourself, being scared of spiders, all those kind of things is usually stuff that we pick up as a kid. And just as we took on board those thoughts, we can lose those thoughts. It's simply a process of overriding the old unhelpful thoughts. And it is based on a lot of proven neuroscience. So I hope that you found that helpful. And the summary of it really is that anyone can be hypnotized pretty much. You need to want to be there. You need to be ready to change. You need to feel comfortable with the person you're working with. We can help with pretty much any issue. Some are more complicated than others. Some people it's easier to work with than others, particularly people who are open and creative and spiritual, etc. And you need to be prepared to do the work and recognize that it is a process. And I hope you found that interesting, and I will look forward to seeing you very, very soon. If you've got any comments, any questions, please feel free to leave them. If you like the video, please do like it, subscribe, and share as you feel appropriate, because hypnotherapy is a phenomenal therapy. It's incredibly powerful. I can't stress that enough. And I believe more people should come to hypnotherapy as a first port of call, not as a last port of call when they've tried everything else.